Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall. Welcome back, Andrew. Welcome back, Adam. We are back after a couple of weeks post Super Bowl after the Seattle Seahawks beat I can't even remember now, the New England
He's
Patriots
forgotten.
in San
He's
Francisco.
forgotten.
I've forgotten. It feels like that long ago. I
The
mean, that's
season's done. No one cares. You lost. You're not
exactly.
remembered.
Well, we did say post show, post Super Bowl, we're on to everything else now. It's all in the back of our minds, and we're plowing on forward to the combine, free agency, and that was for us one of our favorite times of year. We preferred that to the playoffs, really doing that on the show. So, and it's mad because obviously I spent it watching it with Andrew and friends and family, and it feels like ages and ages ago since I saw Andrew, but it was literally a month ago, pretty much. Well, less than that, 3 weeks ago, really. But we've been all okay over here. Hope you have been as well. It is now amped back up into NFL season once again, with the combine just starting a few days ago in Indianapolis, Indiana. It's not in Indiana either. Indianapolis. I'm getting everything wrong. Where's Indianapolis?
In Indiana.
In Indiana. Why am I not in Indiana? I'm terrible at this hosting thing. You take 2 weeks off and this is what happens. But I do know that some big news came out today, and it was the Atlanta Falcons will be the team that is playing in Madrid. They are going back to Spain this year for NFL Spain. That was announced today. Whilst we have been away, there's been a lot of announcements regarding the London games and also the rest of the international series as well. So we have confirmed in London, the Washington Commanders will be playing at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, as well as the Jacksonville Jaguars, who will do back-to-back weeks, we believe, going to Tottenham and to Wembley. I doubt they'll stay here, go back and stay here. You'd have thought they'll do back-to-back. So we get the Jags twice and the Commanders. More on that probably in another time, probably in the season. Melbourne, Australia has now been officially announced. We knew the LA Rams would be playing there. They are having a divisional game over there, though, against the San Francisco 49ers. That's going to be the first game at Melbourne Cricket Ground in Australia. That is a fun one, definitely coming to the land down under. Paris is, as we knew, I think prior to the Super Bowl, hosting the New Orleans Saints. That's going to be a debut game for them. Their Rio de Janeiro in Brazil is hosting the Dallas Cowboys. It is their first international game since 2014. Detroit Lions got announced as the team that will be heading to Munich, Germany, to play at the Allianz Arena. Obviously, some ties there with Amon-Ra St. Brown and his German heritage. So that should be fun for Amon-Ra to go back to his half his home country, I suppose. His dad's American. His dad was like Mr. America. So, and then I think his mum was a bodybuilder as well, I think, for Germany. So, and then they produced 2 tiny children. How crazy. And then Mexico City, we are getting the San Francisco 49ers. That is the first time that it's gone back to Mexico after the stadium renovations that have been happening in Mexico. So San Francisco, just like the Jacksonville Jaguars, playing abroad twice. As we said a second ago, though, the Jaguars sticking in one country, the 49ers going to 2 separate countries. I can imagine that won't be back-to-back. But we shall see. A lot of exciting times. Hopefully, we will be attending at least a handful of them games within Europe, especially the London games, when that comes around to next season. So make sure you check out the content that will be coming when the season comes around again. We've got a few topics on tonight. Obviously, trades and the free agency period is very much on our doorstep. It's the official start of it next week, I do believe. So a lot of things are amping up right now about players, where their movement might be. The franchise tag system, that is closing today at 4:00 Eastern time, so New York time. So may get some information while we're on the pod about that. Have had some information in the last hour about that. The combine with all the college players has been happening as well. Andrew and Adam did some fantastic work with their quarterbacks and the top 10 quarterbacks coming into this draft. So make sure you check that out, and plenty more great stuff coming from them, all to do with the college players going into this year's 2026 NFL draft in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I know Pittsburgh is in Pennsylvania. I'm not slipping up like I did with Indianapolis. I should definitely know that one. But we will start tonight with the coaching carousel. A lot of movement happened during the Super Bowl build-up with the playoffs, and then post-Super Bowl as well. So, and we didn't really dive into that, I suppose, whilst that was happening. And the playoffs were in our mind. We sort of left that on the back burner, but we're going to cover that for for a moment. So one of the biggest ones, Andrew, we'll start with you. Your New York Giants landing John Harbaugh, 14th all-time in regular season wins, 180, something that the New York Giants have been very lackluster in, and that is getting wins. So they are bringing in some huge experience here into New York. You had your preferences, I suppose, your ideas, fingers crossed of who you may get in. How you feeling about the Harbaugh hire?
Yeah, I'm feeling quite confident about that one. It's nice the coaches that we've had prior to this have all been kind of new to the job, like, never really done head coaching. So it's really nice to have someone that's been around and done it, and it's quite royalty to the sort of NFL community as a head coach. So I'm really, really happy with that. It's going to bring structure, and that's something that we've lacked. And yeah, with the ties that he has with players and other coaches and that he's brought in already, it seems very positive, and seems like, I do think there's a lot of buzz and a lot of hype now around the Giants. I'm going to stay a little bit more pessimistic than some people are, that it's going to turn around and we're going to win the division within 1 year. But it's definitely all signs are pointing in the right direction for us with this hire and what he's said and done so far in a short space of time.
One name that was on our lips a lot, Adam, during a little bit of the postseason was Jesse Minter. Actually, the only person to be interviewed by all 10 teams with an opening. Did not know that until today, which is pretty crazy. He landed at the Baltimore Ravens, a team that he does know very well. He was there previously as a coordinator. He was a defensive coordinator at the LA Chargers. His defense ranked 6th in EPA per play, despite, so many injuries on that defense for most of the season, and a lot of shuffling around of the deck they had to do with that roster. He's one of the many hires that happened at head coach, but one that you were particularly interested to see where he went.
Yeah, I think it kind of made sense, didn't it, that he's gone back to the Ravens. I think that he has definitely done his apprenticeship, if you like, through coaching, and deserved his chance to get a head coaching spot. I think he, like you say, did really well at the Chargers as the DC, did really well at Michigan when he was there, did really well under at the Ravens when he was there. And I think the Ravens are a big defensive first kind of team that kind of lost that a little bit last year under Harbaugh, and it all kind of like fell away. So I think having maybe some fresh eyes come to it will help them out, getting back to what they do best. And I think he's got a really good chance of being able to do something pretty good for the Ravens and get them back to being a bit better than what they were last year.
Well, equally within that AFC North was a new head coach from my Pittsburgh Steelers in Mike McCarthy, replaced our long-term tenured Mike Tomlin, former head coach of your Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys. Not quite the scintillating new, young, nobody heard of him guy that I thought the Steelers may hire. We talked about it a lot in our WhatsApp group about who it may be, why it should be them, etc. You laughed and prodded fun that it will end up being Mike McCarthy, and it ended up being Mike McCarthy. So you laughed more and you prodded more fun, which was exceptional for me. It's what I want to have within my friendship group and WhatsApp group of this podcast, is ridicule and sadness ultimately. Yeah, not the most pleased I've ever been about the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I've not been pleased for a fair few years. Can understand why we've done it. He's a Pittsburgh native. Tenured in the world of the NFL, has won in places as well, has changed organizations as well. So I can see what they're doing with this, but I just don't see the long-term plan with this. That's my problem.
How do you feel about the Rooneys come out and saying that they don't want to do a rebuild and they want to stay competitive, and that's going to be the way forward? I know you were very much I want to rebuild, I want a fresh start and all that. How do you feel about that? How do you think that's going to transition for you with McCarthy?
I think that a lot of pride before the fall in it. You know, these guys have owned the Pittsburgh Steelers for years. We've been a relevant organization since the league began. Like people, you can't. I can say a lot of shit on this podcast and a lot of whatevers, but I think most NFL fans note that the Steelers are a pillar of an organization within NFL and have been for generations. So I can understand where they're coming from in that factor, and I think actually we could retool a lot better and easier than, again, maybe yourself was making out when we spoke on WhatsApp and we talked about our organizations and stuff. A lot of you were very bleak about our money situation, about picks, about what we can do, and I suppose our flexibility of what we can do. I just think now in today's NFL world, we've just seen it from so many organizations that flexibility is quite easy, and that you can maneuver a lot easier than you can ever do. I'm against the not tearing it down and starting back up, because I think that's what we really do. I think we need to get younger, as you pointed out again within discussions about the Steelers. I think we need to get cheaper as well. I think it's just, we just need to plan for a future. And I'm not sure McCarthy necessarily has done that wherever he's been. And therefore, how long is it going to take for McCarthy to have a team that represents Mike McCarthy? 2 years?
Well, you've had the most expensive defense for the last God knows how many years, and you need to flip that to be all on offense. So that's not a maybe longer than 2. If he has 2 years, people move on.
It's not an easy task, and actually maybe having someone that is a veteran mind will make it an easier task. Maybe I was a little bit too sort of grasping at straws for a young guy that could be there for 20 years, 15 years, 20 years or whatever, like our last 3 head coaches were for that long a time. Maybe it would have been too much of a task. But like I said, between us, and I've said to many Pittsburgh fans, and I said to a lot of times in last season, I'm happy. I was happy to sit and wait. I was happy to be a bit poor for a few years to see fundamental change and retooling and reinvigoration of a franchise that desperately needs it. Just to fill in the blanks of the rest of the head coach openings, Kevin Stefanski, formerly of the Cleveland Browns, has been hired by the Atlanta Falcons. Robert Saleh, former Jets head coach, 49ers DC last season, gone to the Tennessee Titans. Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak's gone to the Las Vegas Raiders, not the LA Raiders. The OC for the Bills, Joe Brady's been promoted to head coach of Buffalo. Todd Monken, former OC of the Ravens, has gone to fellow divisional rival Cleveland Browns. The Packers DC, Jeff Hafley, has gone to Miami Dolphins. And Mike LaFleur, formerly of the Rams offensive coordinator, a younger brother of Matt LaFleur as well, has gone to the Arizona Cardinals. Andrew, biggest winner out of all them teams, do you think?
I think I'm going to go with Clint Kubiak. I think that's a really good win for them, especially with the direction they're going to go in the draft. I think they've really set themselves up to have a future now. I think they get the coach and the quarterback, and I think he's going to really be able to do really good things with what we've seen from the Saints and then the Seahawks. As long as he implements that, and he's got his the family ties that I think he's been around the game since he was born. So I think that's installed within him that he will know how to run an organization as a head coach. I just think that's going to be a given, knowing the family ties of where his background is. And we know he's a great offensive coordinator. He's not done it at 1 team. He's done it at 2 teams. So I think that's a really big win for them. And I think it can work. They just need to make some sensible moves this offseason, which we may talk about later. And then the rebuild starts and we see some positivity for once at the Raiders.
Adam, out of them ones, though, who is the biggest loser? Who had a poor hire?
Who have I got left?
Cardinals.
Everyone but the Raiders.
I'm not overly fussed on the Cardinals one. I think it's not necessarily against Mike LaFleur. It's just that he hasn't done the play calling at the Rams. I think that's if he's going to take over and start doing that as head coach, then it kind of becomes a little bit like we don't really know what we're getting with him at the moment. And I feel like the Cardinals are a team that desperately need a new identity. Now, it might work out for them. There's just a few more unknowns with him, I think, at the moment. So that's probably the concern. I'm not overly fussed with Salah at the Titans. I do think that he's actually could be a decent coach and a decent head coach. I just think he's gone from being a head coach of one really bad organization to the head coach of another really bad organization. And I just don't know if he's going to get the time because
I think there's less pressure on him at the Titans than there is in New York.
Yeah,
so-
but they make stupid decisions, the Titans. And that's the real
works,
yeah.
Well, all three of the coaches you've just said then, including Andrews, is they've got to overcome some organizational dysfunction, haven't they?
Yeah.
And that is going to be the make or break, I think, for all three of these head coaches. On to both of your favorite subjects, I suppose, is the NFL Combine that came live from Lucas Oil Stadium. Some record-breaking numbers that happened. Lorenzo Styles, fastest safety 40-yard dash in over 20 years.
I think you're going to be saying fastest quite a lot here, Fred.
Well, actually, it's funny you say that because it's just popped up on X.
It's the fastest
combine ever. Yes,
at all positions.
At all positions, which is crazy. We're not going to micro-examine all the players. We're talking maybe more about the combine in a full. So for people who don't know what the combine is, it is a showcase. It is a talent show. It is X Factor. It is Britain's Got Talent for college players to go and show off what they can do in an athletics environment and also an interview thing as well. What you might not know is actually teams then actually get them in a couple of weeks' time to come to their facilities and they do it all again, basically. So that has called into question a little bit with this combine this season, because though we've just said about the fastest, with NFL, it is just getting more athletic. These guys are getting taller, stronger, faster, more instinctive. They are the peak athleticism that the NFL has ever been is we are living it now, and it just gets better and better and better with these colleges getting better and better as well, and more money being funded to them, more money being funded into the NFL. The problem is, Adam, that the combine it went from really nothing to a be-all, end-all to sort of, we talked about it prior. You were talking about one of the topics that you're going to be doing. I'm sorry to reveal it, but the running backs that you guys are going to put out very soon. Not many of them turned up. And we're seeing now a little bit more of a trend of players not going. Fernando Mendoza, who is going to potentially be the number one pick quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders, didn't even throw a ball. Why is that? What's going on with this? Why is this the case that players are now almost not as invested in the combine as it felt like 4 or 5 years ago?
Well, I mean, specifically for Mendoza, he doesn't need to. Is probably what the answer is for that. It's just that there is no other quarterback around that's going to come close to him, and so why bother? He's proved everything by putting it on the tape, hasn't he, in games? So why bother wasting your time running around in your underpants, running around doing 40 times? There's no point, is there? So I think that's basically what it comes down to. It's a case of why risk getting an injury doing a 40 time trying to go as fast as you can when you've put everything on tape? I think that's probably what the argument is. I haven't watched any of it, so I'm the worst person to talk to when it comes to the combine because I literally haven't seen any of it. And
why is that not? Why is it not dragging you to a television? Because when you talk about Fernando Mendoza, then yes, we know he's going to be.
Yeah.
Yes, this is a bit of a anomaly of a draft where really we've got one absolutely first round quarterback, and then maybe a few that dip into the first round. We don't know that yet. Again, if people want to know that, I'd point you directly to Andrew and Adam's show that was phenomenal for you to find out about that. is it because this draft this year is just not that exciting? But at the same time, maybe there's an opportunity if you see players that are really pushing to try and get their draft stock up. And, it's not just NFL fans, the fantasy football world out there, NFL, with your rookie drafts that are going to happen immediately after the draft. What isn't that? Why is it not exciting? Why is it not getting you to a television?
Well, I think for fantasy football fans, it really isn't that exciting this year. I don't think there are as many players as what there would normally be. I think there are players that look like they could be very good, but compared to previous years, the depth is just not there. So I think there is that. For me, I think it's interesting. It's something that we've been doing this podcast for 5 years now, the three of us doing it. And it's one of them things where I think once you first start doing it and you start getting involved in a lot more stuff like this, you do watch more and you do watch more content regarding it and look into it. And I used to watch quite a lot of the combine. I don't think it actually makes any difference, a lot of what they do. I think that teams have ideas already. I think the interviews that are done at the combine, I think that might make a difference. But I think the actual running 40 yards without any pads on doesn't really mean anything. And it's like some of these sort of, there's the 3-cone drill. That's something that is kind of sometimes worth seeing, and you can see whether or not a player can separate quickly from sort of move from one angle to another quickly. That's kind of sort of interesting. But the amount that a guy can bench press, what does it matter? Like, good. Like, I'm not saying don't do it, but it's just, what does it matter in the grand scheme of things? And I think that's why it kind of almost becomes a little bit like none of it really makes a difference. And I think that teams, I think sometimes you can be fooled into thinking that players are better than what they are. And I think we saw that a little bit last year, and I think that you saw that with Matthew Golden a little bit, where he was such a lot of people had him 5th round, 6th round pick, and then he sort of like, there's hype, and then the combine happens. And it's like, oh my God, he's amazing. He can run really quick. And then he becomes a 1st round pick. That doesn't mean that he's not going to be able to do anything, but you just sort of think he's not that value. And so it's like, one of the ones that me and Andrew spoke about when we did the mock draft, Andrew's mock draft, the first one. And we got to like pick 7 or 8, and I was saying this is where I think teams start taking Sonny Styles. That was me being like hyperbole a little bit to sort of poke the bear and see what he said, kind of thing.
For people who don't know, linebacker from Ohio State.
But now I saw a mock draft. He's going to Tennessee at 4. What the hell? Why? He's not, like, don't get me wrong, he's clearly a really good player, but why is he so, like, I was taking the mickey as putting him sort of like low, like 7, 8, 9 sort of thing. And all of a sudden now we've got so-called industry experts going, oh no, he's going to Tennessee at 4. And you just sort of think, what? Because he can run quickly.
For me, I saw plenty of draft analysts putting Sonny Styles in the top 10 pre-combine myself, so I'm not going to.
But not like that.
I'm not going to pick out Sonny Styles as in the player. I'm just more.
No, not at all.
I get where you come from with the concept of like, So I in my notes here, Andrew, I'll move on to you because you'll know these plays in a bit more depth. Not that, like I said, we're not going to micro focus on this, but Jeff Caldwell, wide receiver out of Cincinnati. Really fantastic combine. Looks like he could have really promoted his stock up. On the flip side of it, Malachi Fields, wide receiver from Virginia, didn't have such a great one. Looks like he could be falling a little bit. I don't know whether that's from round 3 to round 6, or whether that's round 1 to round 5. I vaguely know, but I'm just putting it out there. Do you think? We'll pull back to Adam's point a little bit about the rising and lowering of your draft stock and people like Golden. Did you honestly think that teams do take this much out of it? Because is it more that it's just the interviews are better there and they get a lot more from when they have them? Or is it more of they see the burst a little bit there and then go, right, you know what? We need to see more of this. We'll put him through a bit more rigorously for more rigorous drills in-house, interview him some more, and that gives a bit more of a mind. Because these let's not forget, all these teams have had numerous scouts all over the country at multiple, hundreds of thousands of games this season.
Yeah, I say this to Adam all the time when we're going through all the prospects, that watch the tape, go back. I think it's more valuable for you to watch 2024 tape than it is how fast did they run at the combine. I think that's a big thing for me, because this is a production thing is a problem, because we're seeing people, as you said, Golden. There was no production in college. He ran really quickly. All of a sudden, he was a great prospect. The couple of the names that you've just mentioned, Malachi Fields, I think Daniel Jeremiah has got him as a first-round talent. And I'm confused at that. Adam will surely be confused at that, because he looks like Keon Coleman 2.0 in terms of his style of play. And then Colwell, Cincinnati, he's on no one's boards to talk about. So the talk of him moving higher than Fields, that baffles me, because you've got to have your pre-combine thoughts of the production and what they did at college, and then your only thing you're using the combine for is to confirm whether you were right about certain aspects of this player. I think in terms of offense, no transitional things of anything the guys do at the combine transitions to the NFL, other than the gauntlet, maybe, for me. I think that's the only one for me, because you see them catching the ball and how fast they are with the ball in their hands. I think none of them transition to the NFL. Whereas on the defense, I think there is somewhat of a transitional thing with this. So you've got the production from the player. I like that you're seeing verticals, because if they're playing linebacker or safety or like that hybrid role, whether they're big and they're quick and they can get down to the player, whether they can jump high and tip the ball, I think that all is transitional to the NFL. I think that confirms they've got production. They're really explosive. So I do think it helps the defenders more than the offensive players in terms of this as a skill set. So I think there is a place for it. And I do think the interviews, as Adam says, are very, very interesting to listen to the players, because I think personality and traits, I heard, can't remember who, whether it's Field Yates or something, talking about AI taking over from scouts in the future, and they're going to lose their jobs. AI can give you all the stats and everything, but I think seeing someone in person and finding out their background and finding out how did they get on with their other teammates? Did they steal things from shops? Things like that. You can't find that without scouting. I think that is really, really key, and getting to see these players and talk to these players for maybe the first time for some of the execs at teams is really valuable. And the combine is the first time they get to do that.
Lastly, our meatier chunk of what we're going to be talking about this evening, and just to circle back a little bit to our last topic, again, Andrew and Adam's show about the top 10 quarterbacks coming out of this draft is a really great watch, and make sure you go and catch that and the rest of their college stuff that they're going to be doing all the way up to the draft. A lot of fun. The guys work really hard on it, a lot of research, and again, if you're into fantasy football or, your team's picking high up in the draft, it's definitely worth watching, because you want to know maybe a little bit more about these players. And especially if you're not into college either, this might be the first time you hear about them. And Andrew and Adam's analysis of them is sublime. They work really hard. So, really, really great show that you did so far, guys. I'm really excited to see what's coming next. As I said, we're on to sort of the trades, releases, franchise tag, etc. So the deals that have been done already trade-wise, we've had David Montgomery, running back of the Detroit Lions. He has been traded to the Houston Texans. They got back Scruggs, the offensive lineman, and I believe it was a 4th and a 7th that got moved as well, but I can't remember which way it was. Jermaine Johnson, the edge from the New York Jets, was traded for T'Vondre Sweat at the Tennessee Titans. They traded an edge for a defensive tackle, and then Titus Brown, offensive tackle for the Houston Texans, was traded for a 2nd-round pick, 2026 2nd-round pick. So this draft coming up to the Cleveland Browns. Had some franchise tag stuff as well happen, which is just here. So far, George Pickens and Carl Pitts have been franchise tagged as of today. So is Breece Hall, running back for the New York Jets. And it's come out that Kenneth Walker, MVP of the Super Bowl just a few weeks ago, has not been franchise tagged, which means he's going to be an unrestricted free agent, which means anyone can sign him, including Seattle. So he could still go back there. I mean, where do we want to start with this, lads? Do we want to start with the franchise tag guys? Do you want to start with the who's going to get released, with the who's going to be a who has been a cap casualty and continues to be, who may be trade? What avenue do you want to start with here? What would you prefer?
Adam, you got any choices?
Whatever you like, Fred.
Whatever I like. Okay, we'll start with who's going to be released and the likelihood of how, potentially how sought after they're going to be. So far at the minute, Graham Glasgow, guard for the Lions, has been released today. Marshawn Lattimore was also released today, cornerback for the Washington Commanders. A couple of days ago, Jawan Taylor, the offensive tackle for the Chiefs, was. It was announced by Minnesota that they are looking to trade, but they are planning to release Aaron Jones, running back, and Javon Hargrave, defensive tackle. And the rumor mill is Tua Tagovailoa, Miami quarterback. That's pretty much been confirmed that they're going to try and get rid of him. Geno Smith is a rumor. James Conner's a rumor. Alvin Kamara as well. I mean, the problem is this season, I think, is that we're going out to see more trades, because all them names I've just read out there, do either of your teams want them? Do you want them? I mean, it's not a great as well as not a great draft class to some. It's not a great free agency class either, is it?
It's not. No, I think that's probably fair. It's not really.
Just to defend, no.
Yeah, I was trying to come up with something, but no, it's not brilliant. I think it, like you say, it's going to very, very much be more about trades, isn't it, than necessarily picking up free agent. I think obviously Ken Walker is going to become the main guy to try and get hold of, isn't he? That's where I think we're at, and it feels like the running back class. There are a few running backs in this free agency.
I think there's quite a few younger, really talented running backs that are hitting free agency. I think if that's an area that you want, then I think there's some value to be had at the running back position.
Yeah, I'm literally just trying to get the full list up as we're talking. So
yeah, I mean, well, what have you've got Walker, you've got ETN,
you've got Dobbins, you've got Hall's
it was
now.
Javon.
So
Hall's been a franchise tagged. Javonte Williams has signed, hasn't he, for the Cowboys? So he's not about. But yeah, I mean,
get picked up, I would have thought, by someone.
Yeah.
Najee Harris back from his injury. Might have a place.
You meant back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was like,
well, he might want to get back there.
Let's have a little look. So yeah, like you said, Breece Hall, Rico Dowdle, Tyler Algier, Travis Etienne, Najee Harris, J.K. Dobbins, Isaiah Pacheco, Brian Robinson, Kareem Hunt, Rashad White. That could be an interesting one. Yeah, I'm looking at names now. I mean, the quarterbacks: Daniel Jones, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. Wide receivers: Tyreek Hill, Tyreek Hill's already been released, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So the ones I said about released earlier, they've been in the last few days. Mike Evans, Christian Kirk are also in that. Trey Hendrickson, Khalil Mack. Oh no, Khalil Mack's not necessarily going back to the Chargers, but he said he's not retiring. Job Tonio, Wyatt Teller on the offensive line. Jimmy Ward has been released. I mean, yeah, it's just not that as interesting as fun as we've had with, even if Tua gets gone. I mean, that's a piece there, I suppose, is that with the trades and with the lack of sort of highlight talent and like names as well, and quarterbacks being the most valuable players in position. Because of what we've seen last season, is there going to be more of a rampant market for these quarterbacks as backup this season? because of what we've seen happen, where they're utilized a lot more. It's really important to have a good one. And then when they come in and they play really well, you might have a Malik Willis, Mac Jones situation where the rumor mill swirls, Andrew, and it looks like they could be traded somewhere or out of contract, and then they may be a starter.
What's your question for drafting someone or
no? As in though these free agents as an entirety are not exciting, the quarterback section is usually one of the more exciting ones because
it's going to be exciting because there's lack of in the draft, isn't there? There's only consensus number one guy, and then no one really thinks that any of the others can really make it as a starter. Obviously, there might be one or two of those guys that do show up and do that. So I think that then makes the current guys that are free agents or might get cut or you can trade for a lot more exciting a prospect in free agency. I know there's a lot of veterans as well. You've got Geno Smith, Malik Willis, Kirk Cousins. You've got, Tyler is Badgett obviously on the list of being traded as well. Obviously, there was a lot of hype from him at the Bears. Mac Jones, lots of hype as well. Daniel Jones, yeah. Anthony Richardson's now put himself in the mix of being either traded or cut. So there's going to be lots of people because there's what we're saying. There's 8 quarterback needy teams and only 1 in the draft. So yes, it definitely makes this more exciting. And with the resurgence of Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield and what they've done, I think everybody wants. You'll hear it a lot now. Who's the next Sam Darnold? Who's the next Sam Darnold? And there's going to be
where have we heard that one before? Oh, it might be one of our episodes.
We did an episode about it like ages ago, and now it's become a coined phrase now because of it all picking back up. So I think there's that is going to create a lot of buzz around the quarterbacks in free agency and trading.
Okay, we'll go on to what is actually really, really fun for us, which is these potential trades who might get moved. I mean, I've got 3 names. I can imagine that you two have got these names accounted for anyway. So I'll start with AJ Brown, wide receiver at the Eagles. Massive disgruntlement in Philadelphia, as we know. No, I don't think anyone's outright from the organization gone, we're looking to trade. I think there's been whispers of they're taking the call. So, I mean, rumors are the Buffalo Bills are swooping around a little bit for him. I mean, Adam, have you heard any other team?
It's Bills and Patriots, isn't it? That's the kind of the 2 main ones that, to be honest, being linked to all of these sort of big wide receivers. So it's, I mean, like you say, AJ Brown to trade for, but it's like I think the theory is that if whoever doesn't get AJ Brown, or if they can't get AJ Brown, then they will be looking at Mike Evans. They will be looking at Tyreek Hill as potential options. Obviously, different types of wide receiver. Certainly, Tyreek Hill is anyway. But it kind of, I think that they're 2 teams that it just feels obvious, doesn't it, that they are needy of a wide receiver.
They're the 2 needy ones for me. I've hearing a lot about the Patriots more than the Bills. I think Bills is circumstantial and the Patriots is actually some legs behind it because there was talks about it last year as well. What do you think they're going to have to give up for him? Because I'm hearing a lot that Howie Roseman's not got an issue with AJ Brown. That they're quite good as an organization relationship. So they're not going to want to get rid of him cheap. It's not going to be he's causing a problem, so we want to get him out for a third. They bought him for a first. Do you think he's going to be looking for a first back in return for him as value, or do you, I don't think they're going to give him up easy. I think he will get traded though.
I think it could be a first. If I was going to go like a package of some sorts, I would be looking at a first, a 4th/5th, or maybe a 4th and a 5th in multiple years, and maybe a low end player. I think you could do that. I think if teams are trading a first for Sauce Gardner, who I know has the age factor, and Quinn Williams, who has the age factor as well. Because AJ Brown's what, 2 years older than them, maybe
28.
Yeah.
28. If you're win now, you're trading first. Like if you're the Bills or the Patriots, you could argue on a rebuild. Still, yes, fantastic. They got to Super Bowl. We all know they're rebuilding. The Bills have been in win now for 4 years.
Well, since Josh Allen was the best quarterback, yeah.
Exactly.
You've got to be winning now, haven't you?
And they've never. When was the Bills made a splash like this? When was the last time they did a big trade? Diggs? Did they trade a first for Diggs?
I don't know what they traded.
I don't even remember now.
So he literally went. Okay, so Tennessee got a first and a third 4 years ago. He's now 28. I don't think you get a first for him.
Do you think that Philadelphia we'll keep him then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you get maybe like a second and a third.
I think if I'm the Eagles, I'm wanting a player and a second. I think you could do a deal with.
Well, you could do that instead of the third. You could do a second and a player.
Just to circle back as well. Oh no, I've got the wrong thing. I was trying to forget the Stephon Diggs. Sorry, please carry on. Sorry, apologies. I was trying to get the trade for Diggs.
Just thinking you could Keon Coleman not working out at the Bills, you could package him up with his age on a rookie deal and with the fact that he could be unlocked somewhere else.
To be fair, they got Stephon Diggs in a 2027. They traded a first, a fifth, and a sixth in the same year in 2020, and then in 2021 a fourth. I like when you hear that. Was Stephon Diggs a better player than AJ Brown now? I suppose. Like obviously not now, but like at that current time.
At the time, he was one of the best.
When was that?
In Minnesota.
That must have been 2020. That must have been because the picks were 2020.
So how old is Diggs now? 31.
Yeah, probably.
So it's probably. So you're talking about a guy who was younger than what Brown is now at the time.
Stephon Diggs is 32 now, as of today.
And you say it was
2020, March 2020.
So 6 years ago. So he was 26. So and Brown's 28. I just think, unfortunately, age just really does make a huge impact in this. And I think you'll be lucky to get a first for him. I think you could go a second and a player. You could go a second and a third, whatever you want to do. I mean, I'd argue the second and the third is worth more than the second and Keon Coleman. But
yeah, to be really frank, you could probably put Keon Coleman in the deal.
Second and third and Keon Coleman.
But the Eagles have taken on poor wide receivers. They've done that historically.
Yeah.
In the last 2 years, they've taken on players, and we've been like, "Why you got him in?" They're like, and it's always like someone's got to play our sixth string wide receiver, so we might as well have him. So,
I just feel the Eagles, although it didn't work out particularly great for them this past season, they still believe and they still are a win now team. So the idea of packaging something, like you say, it feels like it'd have to be a first. And I just don't think a team is going to do that. It just kind of feels too much.
I just think there's 3 wide receivers that in the draft that are high. If you're not going to get one of them, the rest are a gamble. There's a lot of slot guys. So and there's no one in free agency at the wide receiver position. So if you do want a wide receiver,
so someone will overpay.
I think you're because what are you getting with that first? I think what we're doing here is hyping the first round pick too much. What are the Bills going to get at the pick that they get with their first? The people are saying Casey Conception or Denzel Boston
at what, 27, 28?
Yeah, and I'm going. Are those 2 wide receivers better than AJ Brown? No. So, what's the first to you? If that's what you're going to take with your first, why not give it away? I think you're hyping the first round pick too much, depending on where you are in the draft.
Can the same be said for Max Crosby, though, a player that has been rumored a lot to be going for 2 first-round picks and a player as well? The Lions heavily rumored to be looking at him.
I think everybody will be interested in him. I think everybody will pick the phone up and go, "What's it going to cost me?" Pretty much. I think I think most people will test the waters on Crosby, but 2 firsts I don't think is too much for him with what he can do, and you can build around him if you've got the squad already. So I don't think that's silly, and I think I know you said, there's a couple of teams already. I think majority of the NFL will call and say, what's the price?
Where would you like to see him at?
I'm trying to remember who he's been.
Go on. Sorry.
I'm trying to remember who he's been connected to. There was there was another team that he was connected to, and there was a lot of rumors around it, and it kind of made a lot of sense because it wasn't the Lions though; it was a different team.
Dallas?
The Bears.
Yeah.
And you sort of think that would make quite a lot of sense actually, because it feels like they've got a lot of their pieces on the offense already. And
I had Bears taking edge rusher in the draft with their first as well. So.
Yeah. And it kind of feels like that would make a lot of sense. They've got the ability.
As well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they might be the favourites to take him. I think that's what I read, that he was the favourites to trade for him. So I think the Bears makes a lot of sense, and that would obviously be good for them, sort of thing. So I mean, yeah, I agree. I don't think 2 firsts.
Injury prone. He's so good, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't think 2 firsts is a problem for someone. I think that's the sort of player that you want to give first up for. I think it is like Micah Parsons. You want to give first up for him. You want to give first up for Max Crosby. I think that makes a lot of sense. And the Bears are a team that, when you think about their whole roster, are in a pretty good spot. So it kind of makes sense for them to sort of go for it in that way.
If he gets any say in it whatsoever, he wants to be on the Super Bowl bubble, doesn't he? Like, he's not going to want it. He's not going to go to adjacent to a team that is also pretty poor just because the teams have the picks. I mean, they wouldn't do it, but the Rams have 2 first-round picks this year. They could easily flog them over to the Raiders and try and get him. I mean, that could be an idea. Is there any fun ones that you two have got on your radar that you've been hearing about? Bit of ear to the ground stuff, Andrew?
I go with Adam first. He looks
like don't go with me. I haven't heard nothing.
I thought you turned to the screen like you were going to be like, "Oh yeah, I've got this big one here." I
haven't heard loads of names, but what I've heard consistently is we're going to see more trades than because the draft isn't quite there and the free agency isn't quite there, and I think there's going to be. We saw a lot of blockbuster trades happen in season last season, and I think maybe teams are just getting a little bit less afraid now to sort of go for it.
I think with the cap space going up as well, that kind of gives them the ability to be able to maneuver a lot of things around. So they do have the potential to be able to go for it a bit more as well. So I think that, like you say, it does make sense that that's the case. But DJ Moore's one that I've heard. Potentially moving on, not necessarily to a certain team, but just that's one. They've Rome Odunze. I know he sort of went a bit quiet at the end of the season, but obviously you got Rome Odunze there. Your Giants, Andrew, of course, for Tyler Linderbaum. We've said that quite a few times, haven't we? But that's one that kind of makes sense, and you think they'd go for.
That's not a trade, is it? Is
he a free agent? Oh, he might be a free agent.
I know it's going to cost. They were saying it's going to cost us quite a bit to take him as well, isn't it? But
there's of course tag and trade as well. I mean, Breece Hall been tagged, could get traded.
I think that's the sensible thing for them to do, isn't it? It's for Breece Hall needs to be traded. I think. Why keep hold of him? They're gonna have to pay him quite a bit to keep him there for another 3-4 years. They're rebuilding massively. Running backs are not going to keep their value for that time that they're going to be ready. So it's got to be a tag and trade with Breece Hall. And I know that we have lots of talk about Love being gone by the time the Chiefs have their pick. I think the Chiefs will be in the market maybe to to go after a Brees Hall, maybe.
They were heavily rumored last season, weren't they?
The
Heavily
Saints, if
rumoured.
they're getting rid of Kamara, if they're cutting him because he's really expensive, I think they might be another team. If they can't get hold of Love in the draft, then they might want to trade for one of the other names as well.
Do you think? What about Pickens and Pitts?
I think Pickens
they
is
stay,
staying.
don't they?
I think Pitts is staying.
If Pitts hadn't had the season he had last season, I would have been. He wouldn't have been tagged for me.
No, they would have just let him go, wouldn't they? I think that they would have just not bothered. But they've shown what he can actually produce when he's actually thrown the ball. And it is because he's the tight end position. It's not overly expensive to tag a tight end. It's a lot cheaper to tag Pitts than it is to tag Pickens. And production-wise, they were very similar last year, and it's cost you a lot more to tag Pickens, which I'm not sure whether that's the right decision from the Cowboys. That's another really expensive guy on the offense when they need to spend money elsewhere. But he deserves what he gets. I think he had a good year.
I suppose Stefanski does use that tight end position really well in an offense. He did it in Cleveland. So, like, having Pitts makes sense, doesn't it? What about, like, someone like Trey Hendrickson, someone who's been rumored for feels like 2 years now to be traded? He's not, nothing's come out yet about him being tagged. That cost
that's not going to be traded either, is it? He's a free agent, isn't he? He was only Trey Hendrickson.
That's what I'm saying is if they tag him, is that a tag and trade or do they just release him? Tagging him would be 24.4. They tagged him last season, didn't they, as well?
Yeah,
and then got a year extension out.
Well, you rarely tag someone twice, do you? I know it's not a rule, but it's like a grey area of a slap in the face, isn't it? So that might be
because to tag him would be 24. He's wanting north of that easily. I mean, he's real good as well.
I'll tell you one that I have heard. When it's Giants related because that's a lot of my feed. I have heard the Giants possibly going after Mark Andrews.
That would be an interesting one. And then Baltimore taking Stowers in the draft.
They could take several people, but I don't know. He's at an age now where they probably might want to move on from him. We know what Harbaugh's done with him, and we've got Theo Johnson, and we know he likes multiple tight ends. So I have heard that there might be a move for Mark Andrews to the Giants.
Do you want any other Ravens players whilst you're at it? Just bring the whole team over. Why don't you? Get Lamar in. You can do some special plays. Lamar and Jackson Dart, and them both on the field at the same time.
We're fine with the price that we're paying for because Lamar's going to get a load of money, isn't he? So we don't want that.
He's already had a load of money. He's probably going to get a bucket ton more. Yeah, I think. I mean, the cap has gone. The cap's gone up by 22 million. That's sort of why I said about the Cowboys earlier with Max Crosby is that it has given them with it going up. That's actually they were in real bad in a pretty poor cap space, but now with the bump, they're actually in a pretty okay cap space. Now it'll be interesting now to see from when we were talking sort of last season about the future for some of these teams with the cap now being adjusted. That 22 mil wiggle room doesn't sound like loads. With the cap being 301.2 million up to get all together. But it is. That is good wiggle room. Some of these teams, this will be really, really important. And yeah, I mean, like for the Saints, for example, who are just in cap hell, getting rid of Kamara frees up 18.6 million, and they've got a free 22 million space that's just come up. They've got 40 million in space out of nowhere. They could do a bit more money. That's what I was talking about earlier with Mike McCarthy and the Steelers and teams retooling or regentrifying that the roster with this movement as well with cap. It gets easier to be able to do that, but of course, as time will go on, the money for players will get larger as well. So it will iron itself out eventually, won't it? These contracts are only going one way, and that's north.
Fred, I've got a quick one for you. It's been rumored quite a lot recently. But might be a bit of a laugh one from Adam's going to laugh and say it. There's a player coming out of retirement that has the right to his team, so he's going to have to be traded because
does he throw the ball?
Derek Carr.
Okay.
How
No,
do we
laugh
feel?
at him. Laugh at him. He deserves
How do we
this.
feel about him coming out of retirement, and also that he's going to need to be traded? Like it's. I
So
don't
what?
feel.
He's officially said he's coming out of retirement.
I think he has. Yeah.
It has been rumored that it's because he was isn't he coming towards the end of his contract with the Saints? And so therefore if he wants to come out of retirement, he could. But technically he's still a player for the Saints, and so therefore they would have to trade for him. But I mean it would be minimal sort of.
I mean, if Phil Rivers can come back and play for the Colts, why can't Derek Carr come back?
But
Like-
where though?
But you know where he should go? This can sound
Steelers.
really. You're going to laugh at this, especially. You are going to howl at this. He should go back to the Las Vegas Raiders and back up Fernando Mendoza.
He's not coming back to be a backup, is he?
Man, it goes back to the Raiders, backs up Mendoza, ease Mendoza in. You could do that if you wanted to. But no, you're right. I think if he came back, he isn't wanting to be. But you can't have this much time out and come back and say you're a starter. What he can come back and do is do what we were just talking about, where he comes back and goes, "I'll be a backup, but I'm playing for a starting position next season, or I'm playing for a starting position within this team."
Maybe the Colts. That
And the Colts can't do. Oh my god, the Colts can't keep getting it wrong though.
No,
Like they just
No,
can't.
Daniel
he could
Jones
back up
might not be
Daniel
ready
Jones.
for this. He might not be ready for the start of the year either, Daniel Jones.
Mm.
So
Could do that. That's not.
He could go to Kansas City and back up Patrick Mahomes and start the season.
Again, he won't be back at Willie. He'll be starting. It would be a very sensible move.
Well, there you go then.
Yeah.
It depends where he's at, man. It depends where he's at. He equally is going to be doing a combine-esque thing, isn't he? If he wanted to do that, he's going to have to go and show pony himself around for these teams and show them that he's still got a little bit of it. Because at the Saints in the last few years, he lost all of it. And yeah, I'm a lot higher on Derek Carr in his prime than a lot of people were. You know, this guy was nearly an MVP. Like he was a good quarterback in his day. We've just in recency bias realized, and it was on a lot of really poor teams, and went to the Saints, had a one all right year, and that was about it really. And then it all crumbled. But again, went from a really poor team to a really poor team. So, you know, what could this guy have done? What could this guy do in a team that's actually functional? We've seen, okay, age, admittedly, but I mean, even Aaron Rodgers at the Steelers. I mean, come on, like that's a showcase for a team for a quarterback that can play in it. You know, our thing with the Steelers has not been that Aaron Rodgers looked really bad. That's not been our narrative at all. Rodgers has been really good this season. Well, if Carr's got anything left in him with a little bit of a younger age compared to Aaron Rodgers, he could be really, really functional in a team. It may allow some teams to have some breathing room going into next draft that is meant to be a field of quarterbacks that are meant to be our next generation of rising stars. So it could give some teams some breathing space. You know, the Cardinals could be a team. I know they've got Jacoby Brissett, but again, gets injured. Do you do that? I don't know. What do you think, Adam?
They're going to get Malik Willis, aren't they? The Cardinals?
Yeah, there's a lot of rumors that he's not going to the Dolphins, isn't there?
No, it's going to go to the Cardinals and just keep throwing that ball to Trey McBride.
Speaking of like, okay, just announced that the Bengals are not franchise tagging Trey Hendrickson.
There you go. He's out.
So he'll be. I mean, does he rise now as the number one free agent?
No.
You think Kenneth Walker's number one? And what, Hendrickson 2?
I think it's difficult, isn't it, to get away from Ken Walker, given what he did in the Super Bowl. I think that's hard to get away. So I think he should be. I know he's a running back, so teams don't necessarily value it as much, but maybe they should do now. You know, you look at what's happened in the last few years: Barkley at the Eagles, and now Walker in the Super Bowl. So, Yeah, I think the Walker's number one. Hendrickson should be pretty high up on that list.
I think in terms of positional value at edge rusher, Hendrickson may be the number one guy to go for in terms of if you that's a cornerstone piece, is it? Quarterback, left tackle, edge rusher.
The only thing I'd say is there's a lot of edge rushers in this draft class, isn't there?
There is a lot of talented guys, but
so do you really want to be going out and getting yourself a guy who will be 32?
Yeah.
This has got Buffalo Bills screaming all over it. Von Miller.
It does a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Doesn't that like scream the Buffalo Bills? Really? Win now. Really, a really great edge rusher. I mean, he's phenomenal. So we'll have to see where he goes.
I think Tyreek will be more sought after than what you think as well.
Okay.
Isn't he in a bit of trouble though? I got to wait for his trouble.
When is Tyreek not in a bit of trouble?
Have the Chiefs got to re-sign Kelsey as well? Is that Dick? I'm all right.
I think so.
Yeah. Yes, they do. I think that will probably happen though.
And we'll have another year of Travis and Taylor. Long live the NFL.
Thank the Lord.
Andrew, Adam, thank you very much for joining me this evening. And thank you all for watching. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. Lots of very fun, very interesting stuff coming your way this off season. I've plugged it a lot already, but I'm going to plug it again. Andrew and Adam, their shows that are bringing out about the top 10s in positions within this draft coming up. Really good. The quarterback one is out now, so make sure you go and check that out, and some really good ones to come on the way. Check us out on social media where you can find all of our stuff. We are on every platform, so make sure you give us a follow. Until then, we'll see you all again very soon.